Welcome back to MFO, everybody. What a special episode this is. You remember who she is. We'll tell you later. Hey, you're here because I wanted to ask a question about, have you ever done an oxygen bar?
I have not.
Do you know about
them?
them?
I know about them, yeah.
Okay, so tell us what's the whole idea behind an oxygen bar?
You go there and you get like dosages of oxygen put in your system to help make you feel like more awake and alert and like better.
So instead of going
like
to a bar and
high.
like a natural high. So instead
Right.
of going to a bar and drinking a whiskey and
Right.
feeling better that way,
Right.
you actually go into one of these places and what is it? Is it a mask or
I think so.
You put a mask on and I believe, if I'm not right, they maybe have like flavored, like there's different scents and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're inhaling like almost a pure kind of oxygen.
Right. It's kind of like a hookah bar, but with oxygen.
And you feel better going out. You feel more rejuvenated.
Right.
That's why I wanted you here, because I have the same type of thing that you can do with your fish in your Livewell, and it isn't some catch and release formula that you buy or please release me type of thing. It's actually a chemical compound that does the exact same thing we're going to talk about.
All right.
Stick around, guys. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher.
I'm Megan Fuller.
I'm so glad that you're here. So, what I'm talking about, you know that I struggle and I really continue to look for ways to keep my fish alive that are in the live well.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether you're putting in, certain additives to try and settle the fish down. There's a lot of additives that talk about how they help the slime coat on the fish or they settle the fish down. The reality is, I'm not putting those down, but I don't know that settling the fish down,
giving like the
sedative,
fish,
like having. What I want to do is make sure I don't want them jumping out of the live well, but I want them getting a lot of oxygen. I want to make sure the last thing you want to do is take a stressed out fish and take away its will to live, right? Just settle it down, right?
And it's getting warmer. And I'm sure that
and absolutely,
too, right?
warm is the worst things, hot summer months.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm talking about doing. We did a video a couple of days ago about cleaning out the live wells and using vinegar and hydrogen peroxide. Now, the idea behind the hydrogen peroxide was that it's also an antibacterial, which doesn't hurt if it's in your live well. Any bacteria from the whatever's in your live well already that you're putting in there to kill that. But the reality is, hydrogen peroxide, and I don't know if you know, do you know what the chemical compound for hydrogen peroxide is?
Well, I know now.
What is it?
It's Is it H2O?
H2O is water.
Right. No, I know, but is it HHO or just HO?
H2O2. So basically, it's the same chemical compound as water, but it has an extra oxygen molecule within the compound. So when you mix this with the water in your live well, you're actually adding another oxygen molecule. And now granted, you can't just put the fish in hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, that would
because that's too concentrated.
Yeah, it's
but if you take a few ounces, say, well, right now this hydrogen peroxide is 3%. Okay, so if you take a few ounces, say 3 ounces of this, and put it in a 30-gallon live well, you are adding a very, very small percentage of hydrogen peroxide, but you are adding oxygen molecules to your live well. Yes, you're going to recirculate it, you're going to get those bubbles going, and you're going to continue to oxygenate that. But by adding a little hydrogen peroxide to your live well, you're actually increasing the oxygen molecules in the water, which is going to keep your fish better oxygenated. And the interesting thing about this, and this has been proven, is that some people will say, wait a minute, you can overdose them on that. And the reality is, no, the fish's gills work it's almost like if you picture a sponge, and you put a sponge with water in it, a bowl, and you put the sponge in the bowl and you squeeze it, and the sponge soaks up the water, right? Okay, that's like a fish's gills. If you squeeze that sponge, because it gets saturated, that water goes back in the bowl, and then when you put that squeezed sponge back in the bowl, it'll absorb what it can. The rest, it dissipates out. So it doesn't matter if you go a little bit overboard on this. The fish will take in whatever oxygen it can and expel the rest of it. So you can't overdo it with the hydrogen peroxide. You don't
go
right
with it,
but the point is, if you're putting 3 ounces of hydrogen peroxide in your live well, you're mixing it around, I think that's way better in terms of caring for your fish, especially, as you said, in the hot summer months, than doping them up. And the reality, you can do both. You can put more oxygen in, there's no problem with adding a little bit of this. I am going to, especially in the summer, I'm going to be carrying around a little bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and I'm going to put a little bit in my live wells and kind of check and see. But to me, the science seems to make sense, and that's what I'm going to do.
And it's pretty humanitarian.
Yeah, I think that again, the worst thing, I just hate it. Open up the live well and you got a fish that's they're not dead, but they're not doing well, and you end up spending time, reviving the fish, moving that fish back and forth, getting that water flowing through the gills. And that's time that you're spent working on a fish you've already caught rather than catching that next fish. Or
it's sad for the fish.
Yeah, but that fish, fortunately, I've not had any fish die this year, but I have had to work on some to make sure that they don't. And I think this is going to make it so that I don't need to do that. Okay, take care of the fish, but also be able to catch a lot of fish. And hydrogen peroxide might help you do both of those. Guys, I'd love to hear your comments on this. 100%. This is new to me. I'm sharing it with you. I'd love to hear your comments. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. We do videos Monday through Friday, so we'd love to have you join our team. And we will see you again tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors, with or without Megan Fuller.
Stay channeled.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.